Hello everyone. Today I will be discussing about the functions of code switching in the classroom. So this is a very relevant topic among teachers, especially to those who are teaching English in a bilingual or multilingual classroom. So before we proceed to the discussion or the topic, I'd like you to ponder on this situation. Mrs. Chu is an English teacher and implements English only policy in her class. During one of her classroom lectures, her students were very noisy. She was distracted, thus started speaking in Bisaya about their behavior. One teacher happened to pass by and heard Mrs. Chu. Mr. Barrera called her attention after the class and amended Mrs. Chu's behavior. Now the question is, was it right for Mr. Barrera to correct Mrs. Chu for speaking Bisaya? Why or why not? I asked this question to my colleagues, to my fellow teachers during our last session, and a couple of them said that it was right for Mr. Barrera to correct Mrs. Chu because Mrs. Chu implemented English only policy in her classroom, so it was expected of her to follow her rules and talk to her students in English. So, what do you think? Was it right or was it not right for Mr. Barrera to correct Mrs. Chu? You can leave your comments or your answers on the comments section of this video. Right, so functions of code switching in the classroom, and this is based on Gibson Ferguson's article in 2003. So the objectives of this discussion is for you to understand the meaning of code switching, explain the different functions of code switching in the classroom, cite instances when code switching is used in the classroom, and reflect on the situations. I know it is very familiar to you what code switching is, and for sure you've done it multiple times in your classrooms, especially in your English classes or lectures. Sometimes teacher just to we need to alternate from one language to another, speak multiple languages if necessary, just so our students can understand and grasp what we want them to understand and learn from our lessons. Anyway, code switching is a common phenomenon among bilingual societies. This is according to Johansson in 2013. And this is primarily because, especially it applies in the Philippines because we speak more than 170 different languages. We speak different dialects. And with code switching, we are able to communicate and transact, messages, information, feelings. So, Tupaz in 1998 asserted that Filipinos switch codes due to a struggle from monolingualism and globalization factors after post-colonial era and having multiplicities of identities. Because our language is our identity, and it's always been like that. We use language to introduce ourselves, to share culture and tradition to people. So basically, language is our identity. But sometimes there are terms, there are specific concepts that we cannot explain thoroughly without using or switching to another language, especially in our classrooms, because some students they do not or they cannot understand English well, that we have to switch languages from English to Bisaya or to Tagalog or to any other dialects. So what are really the functions of code switching in the classroom? So Ferguson presented three functions. First, for curriculum access. So this is to help students or pupils understand the subject matter of their lessons. There are certain topics that students cannot understand and comprehend that quickly, so we have to code switch. And it is okay because the purpose is for them to really get what you are trying to teach to them, you know. And I know you've done this because I've done this several times in many occasions. Next is classroom management discourse to motivate, discipline, and praise students, especially when it comes to managing our classroom, our students. There are times that they just can't follow instructions and rules, and when you try to discipline them to, for example, behave properly, and sometimes they do not just understand, so we have to code switch from English to Bisaya or to Tagalog or Filipino. We do that just so we can give emphasis to how we manage the class. Last is interpersonal relations in the classroom to humanize the effective climate of the classroom and to negotiate different identities. Of course, when we try to teach our students specific objectives and skills or knowledge, we also have to know and understand their differences. Every student is unique. That means one student has another identity in terms of language, in terms of culture, in terms of tradition, in terms of perspectives in life from the rest of the other students. So we need to be able to connect to each student. That's why code switching functions really well in developing rapport between our students and among them, because with code switching we'll be able to understand them more, get to know them more individually, because as previously mentioned, our language is also our identity. Right, so you can check on the references for further readings about code switching. So really, as educators or as teachers, we should not discriminate students, especially if they speak another language, they speak another dialect or variety. We have to accept them and respect them, and that includes their language. And also, some teachers become intimidating to students, especially if we just keep talking and using English in the classroom. I know English only policy is a good approach to teaching your students to acquire language. However, it doesn't work for everyone. So students should be engaged in real scenarios and use their language appropriately and effectively, because there's no point of like discussing everything your lessons in English. Yeah, your students cannot understand you because okay, ma'am, can you like pause for a while? I'll have to interpret every word you just said. We don't want that response and feedback from them. So we just have to speak at the level of our students. All right, thank you guys for listening. I hope you learned something. Till next time.